Hey, my friend. Welcome to the Daily Writer, where we help writers become authors of their own lives. If you've ever considered getting into ghostwriting as a business, today's episode is for you. Email subscriber Arlen Garrig sent in a question. He says, "Your past emails about your ghostwriting business got me to thinking. I'm a teacher and I love what I do, but is ghostwriting something I could do as a part-time job? I would love to make money with my writing, but it's been on the back burner while my focus and mission is teaching." Well, Arlen, thanks so much for the question. And it's really funny that you should ask me this because I was also a teacher for many years. In fact, I was a college professor before going into business full time for myself. So I really understand this idea of loving what you do as a teacher, yet also wanting to build an escape plan or at least starting a side hustle. So, what I want to do on this episode is share with you 7 actions that I would recommend if you want to start ghostwriting part time. And keep in mind, these are not necessarily in order. And by the way, if you choose, you can build it to full time as you go, or of course, you can stay part time if you want to stay teaching over the long term. Either way, I would recommend doing these 7 things if you want to start as a part time ghostwriter. Number one, outside of your teaching job, give your full focus to building your ghostwriting business. Now, here's the thing, you cannot compromise on this step. If you're trying to do a bunch of other things as well, you're going to lose focus and it will take you a lot longer to grow your business. And when you build a client-based business, to be honest with you, it is not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of grind, it takes a lot of hustle, and it's going to take some time. So put your full focus on building your ghostwriting business outside of your main job. Number two, I would recommend starting with small projects, not full books. So I would recommend offering writing services like doing blog posts or newsletters, Substack articles, or social media content. And the reason I say this is because this approach is going to help you to build your client writing chops. And also, you're going to learn a lot about what kinds of things you actually enjoy writing for clients. Plus, these recurring services can be a great little income stream that repeats every month or however often you would bill somebody. Number three, I recommend writing a short, effective nonfiction book on a topic that you care about. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, why would you do this if your goal is to write for clients? And the reason I say this is because being an author yourself is going to build your credibility and help you understand every part of the book creation process. I see a lot of ghostwriters who are making this mistake. And yes, I'm calling it a mistake because I think if you are saying that you want to write books for other people, then my opinion is that you should write a book yourself, because how can you possibly be as effective as possible writing books for other people if you have not really done that for yourself? Because when you do it for yourself, you're going to understand the process much better. And you're also going to be able to build your credibility as an author, as someone who has their own author platform. And you're going to be able to explain to clients, hey, this is what it feels like to put your own book out into the world. And I just think that's a really important principle, is that you want to try and experience the things that your clients are going to feel. So there's a lot of reasons to be your own author in addition to writing books for clients. Number four, tell people that you're building a ghostwriting business. My ghostwriting mentor in my early days is a gentleman named Nick Pavlidis. He's a very, very successful ghostwriter and an awesome human being to boot. And he gave me this advice. He said, when you're building your ghostwriting business, tell everybody that you're a ghostwriter, which I know sounds super obvious, but for introverts like me, marketing sometimes doesn't always occur to us as a, sort of a first strategy, because our first impulse is always to show up and just do the work. And sometimes we forget about telling people about the stuff that we actually do. And the reality is that people won't know that you want to be a ghostwriter unless you actually tell them. So ask people if they know somebody who needs a ghostwriter. Tell them you're building a ghostwriting business. And if you do this enough times with the right people, you will find your first client eventually, I promise. Number five, do whatever it takes to get that first ghostwriting gig under your belt. And here's a very simple and super effective way to do this, which is doing something low cost or even free as a first project. Now, I don't mean writing a full book for somebody for free, because that's not really a good use of your time. But I mean maybe writing a few articles or blog posts for somebody for free, maybe for if you have a pastor friend, or if you have a nonprofit, or someone who could really benefit from your services but maybe can't afford it. That's a really, really good way to get your foot in the door. And again, make sure you're not spending a ton of time doing it, because your time is valuable. But the reality is that you've got to get your foot in the door. And the goal here is to give you some experience working with clients, give you some momentum, and also get one or two really good client testimonials. And so doing something low cost or for free that has a limited scope of engagement, that's not going to take a massive amount of time, is a really, really super good way to get started. Number 6, build your business in what I call the cracks of life. And that means using spare moments that you have before or after the end of the workday or on the evenings or the weekends. When you have an hour here, a couple hours there, it really can add up in the course of a week. And finally, number 7 is I strongly encourage you to grow your network. Now, I mentioned this in yesterday's podcast, or rather the podcast from a couple days ago, but I'm going to repeat it here. I strongly encourage you to get Anna Recorder's book called Business Networking. It is a really fantastic book, and she has a whole system to help you build your network. You know, as they say, your network is your net worth. And that is really, really true, especially when it comes to a client-based business such as ghostwriting. So here I've given you 7 suggestions, and I know all of this might feel overwhelming, but the bottom line is that you can do this if you want to. You really, truly can. Now, keep in mind, though, that it's going to take more time than you think. It's going to be more frustrating than you think, and you're going to make more mistakes than you think that you will. But if you have the hustle to get started and to not get paralyzed by indecision, you can absolutely build a successful ghostwriting business. Now, if you've listened to this podcast episode this far, obviously you're interested in this topic. And so I have a question for you, which is this. Would you be interested in training or resources to start or grow your ghostwriting business? If you would, please shoot me an email at kent@kentsanders.net. I would truly love to know if this is something you would be interested in. I have people ask me about ghostwriting all the time. And if this is something you would be interested in, please let me know. I would genuinely love to hear from you. Hey, as always, thanks for listening. Keep writing, keep showing up, and I will see you tomorrow.